Bitcoin putting in a big dip, making a move 20% to the downside in around 24 hours. In this video, I want to break down that move, but explain why I think it's an extremely good thing. What is up, everyone? Welcome to Crypto Capital Venture. Hit that like, hit that subscribe on the way in, everybody. Let's jump into this Bitcoin video. It's an important one because these only happen a handful of times in bull markets. Swing high around 24 hours ago or so, to swing low around 20%. What a volatile move for Bitcoin. I want to talk about this. I want to break down what to anticipate in the hours ahead and also in the days ahead. Before we do, I did this video yesterday. What's funny about this, Bitcoin breakout to 60,000 today. Here's how it will happen. I think 70% of that video yesterday, I talked about the downside potential for Bitcoin because you see two scenarios on the screen we were discussing. And in this clip, I just want to show you to set up context for this video. And right confluent with that upper trend line, or lower trend line actually I should say, is this Fibonacci support area, this 618 to 786. We're talking $52,200 to around $53,000. Short term, that's a potential higher low for Bitcoin. So we're talking about a higher low in that video, and I just want to point out this comment. This aged incredibly well, scooping up on the sale dip at 53,400. Thanks, Dan. I'm pointing that out, everybody, because I talk about dips a lot on this YouTube channel, and I'm telling you, it's where opportunity is, and I love when I see comments, people just talking about utilizing the technical analysis we use in scooping up dips. I had a neighbor over yesterday asking me, well, when should I buy Bitcoin? And I'm just saying, look for dips. If you see a dip, I said if you see a 30% dip, scoop it up, because if you zoom out on the charts, these things happen, and they also happen in bull markets. The thing is, this time around that we really have to keep an eye on is they're not happening as often. You can see Bitcoin in the last bull market, even entering that bull market, getting, weeks worth of consolidation over and over with pretty big dips. This time around, if we go look at the chart, Bitcoin, and here's a daily chart, Bitcoin has really only made one significant dip, significant from this swing high to that 50-day moving average, around 30% or so to the downside. Currently, this move is 20% or so to the downside. There could potentially be more, because if you analyze the dip that happened, and this was just in January, if you analyze this kind of huge volatility dip, this was 28% to the downside, and ultimately it trickled down for weeks to 31%, 32% to the downside. So comparatively, right now, Bitcoin making its first move to the downside, that 20-day moving average around 20%. The question is, will it trickle down to that 50-day moving average into that 30% range for Bitcoin? That's one thing we need to watch for the charts. But on the short term, going back to this video that I did yesterday talking about this extremely short-term support area, we can start seeing what has transpired on the charts. And it's very, very important. We have this swing low, the upper trend line, that last trend line touch before we took off to our target, and Bitcoin hit the target. $58,000 target out of this rising wedge, perfectly hit, and as is so many times, Bitcoin sees resistance at its targets, coming down for a throwback. So the throwback occurred. This is a throwback to an upper trend line of this pattern right here. Confluent with that area is the area that we talked about in the video yesterday, just above 53,000, down into the 52,000s. So on the very short term, we are going to keep an eye on this entire Fibonacci support area. Now, right now, it's a 6-hour chart, and let me just delete this line. You can see the wick coming outside of it, but right now, Bitcoin trading just at this 618 line on this Fibonacci retracement, this Fibonacci support area. Will Bitcoin continue to hold support? And right now, we'll check out how this 6-hour candle closes. We're talking, we got like an hour, 38 minutes left. We might trickle down. If we do, and we put another 6-hour candle messing around with this area, how does it interact? Are we going to see some buying pressure of support below the 618 and above the 786? We want to see short-term support at this area. Now, in terms of what just transpired, I just can't stress enough how normal it is. Not only on the macro charts, meaning we got a 20% move in a bull market, very normal. It's opportunity for those who want to accumulate these dips in bull markets. But even from a technical perspective, this rising wedge, Bitcoin broke out of, and we're getting a throwback on. Now, we know rising wedges have a throwback rate of 72%. And this is data based off of the patternsites.com. I talk about this a lot. I use a lot of this data. We tweak it a little bit to compensate for the volatility of Bitcoin. But this alone, the throwbacks out of rising wedge based on 1,400 perfect trades by Bulkowski, 72% throwback rates. And when we're talking about throwbacks, throwbacks happen. But one note that I really like that he puts on here in regards to throwbacks, trading tips. He says, expect one. Expect a throwback will occur. Very simple. And so we always talk about this because we always want to be ready for them, because they can prove volatile, and they can be a little confusing because it's like, wait, we just bullishly broke out of this pattern. What is happening? Is this bearish? And the thing is, it's not necessarily bearish. It could actually be very bullish, because when we have this trend, if we zoom out on the 6 hour, and the trend is higher highs and higher lows for months, but when we have this trend happening, we want to see consolidation. And consolidation happens at short-term trend lines, namely out of short-term patterns, which there's one we've been tracking. Now, throwbacks do hurt performance, meaning if Bitcoin didn't throw back and say instead at 58,000 we traded sideways, I mean, obviously Bitcoin could be breaking through $60,000 quite quickly. We talked about that in yesterday's video. It hurts performance. And I would say in a bull market, it hurts performance on the short term. And you can just see this symmetrical triangle that Bitcoin, there was actually a couple back here Bitcoin broke out of, never got a throwback. And this was us just a month ago discussing Bitcoin breaking out of a symmetrical triangle in the 30,000s. And you can see performance was not hurt at all because there was no throwback, and Bitcoin just flew, almost touching $60,000 in around 1 month. So that kind of illustrates how throwbacks hurt performance on the short term, meaning they slow things down. And if you don't get a throwback, boom, Bitcoin just will operate very bullishly. So back into the 6 hour chart, what we want to look for now is support in the hours ahead. Let's see how the 6 hour candle closes. Let's see what happens with the next 6 hour candle. A bounce here would be phenomenal. There is a case for Bitcoin to kind of bounce. This is the higher low. All this is the higher low. And we start continuing to the upside. Going to the daily chart, I want to illustrate something though, because this could be an extended consolidation. This could last weeks. And you want to be prepared for it, especially if you're a Bitcoin accumulator out there, if you're waiting for that 30% dip. This happened. This just happened in January. We had the swing high to that first swing low, back up, and this is kind of the move we're looking for right now. A swing high, and what will it be? Will it be a lower high similar to last time, or is Bitcoin going to break back through and put up new all-time highs? And the way to analyze this and look for this is very simple. It is a Fibonacci swing high to our current swing low. So let me just zoom in and chart this for you. So zooming in, let me grab this Fibonacci. There's our swing high that Bitcoin just had around 58,000 or so to this swing low, and we chart a Fibonacci. Now this is extremely early for Bitcoin, and let me actually change this daily chart real quick to a 6 hour chart, and you can kind of get a sense. So there's this swing high to swing low. Now we have this resistance area that Bitcoin needs to break, and Bitcoin is trading actually just below it right now. So what we want to see, and you know what? I'm going to change it to an hourly chart. This will be even easier to view. Bitcoin trading below this Fibonacci resistance right now, 54,000, let's call it 54,000 to right around the 786 line, $56,000. Can Bitcoin make a short-term move back through that area, or will we see resistance now, right? And if we see resistance, going back to the daily chart, this is how this could play out. If we see resistance all in this area, Bitcoin could be kind of swing low, swing high, lower high, trickling back down. So that's what you want to be careful for. And we had a very similar move back here in January. Want to anticipate that. Ultimately, we're waiting for this 50-day moving average to be pulled up to Bitcoin during this consolidation, no matter how long it lasts. And we're always ultimately prepared for these dips to that 50-day moving average, the touch to the 50-day moving average. So I would say be extremely prepared for that. But on the short term, watch. If Bitcoin can break above this Fibonacci resistance areas, 56,000 to 54,000, this could play out to be a bullish move for Bitcoin, a bullish bounce for Bitcoin off of this crazy dip. But everybody, at the end of the day, zoom out on the charts. Here's this weekly chart. Here's where we are in terms of Bitcoin cycles. Don't forget, I've talked about this a lot in the last few days. Number of addresses holding between 1,000 and 10,000 Bitcoin decreased during the last bull run, but this time it's picking up speed. It's picking up speed, everybody. The number of addresses that Bitcoin has that are being held, 1,000 to 10,000, increasing. People accumulating above $50,000. This wasn't happening this time last cycle. Last time, these addresses were decreasing. So there's demand for Bitcoin, and it's illustrated very simply on these charts, in these wicks. Will this last? Watch resistance, watch support, and let's see. Here's support for Bitcoin right now in the 6 hour. Look at that wick. If Bitcoin does something crazy, I'll do another update a little bit later. Hit that subscribe, hit that like. I appreciate you cruising by. I'll see you in the next video. Have an awesome day. God bless.